Hello everyone, in this video we're gonna have a look on the new 7artisans 35mm f2 lens in their WEN series. When I first picked up this lens, I was impressed by the build quality, the all-metal construction and the overall look. It's a good looking lens. But when I put it on my camera, everything changed for the better. This lens is really good. It has the ability to produce a high amount of details and have a high resolution as well. Inside the box you find a leather punch with a zipper and a small bag. Besides that, you also find all the tools needed to calibrate the lens for your rangefinder camera. The lens has 10 aperture blades and it comes with 8 elements in 7 groups. It has click stops that goes all the way from f2 up to f22. The focus ring on this lens has markings for the distance, which is really nice for street photography and hyperfocus. The focus ring is really nice to use. There's a good amount of resistance and it's really easy to adjust it. There's another nice thing on this focus ring, which is the little thing that sticks up that gives an additional grip for your finger, which makes focusing this lens a very nice experience. The filter diameter is 55mm. Like most rangefinder lenses, this one is not the best performer when it comes to close focusing performances. However, if you're using a mirrorless camera, this is not a big issue, because when you're buying an adapter, you could buy a close focusing adapter, which makes it possible for you to focus on close distances or closer distances. But by default, this has closest focus on 70 centimeter. The lens cap on this lens is a push-on lens cap with a tight fit. There's no risk that this one gonna fall off. A nice thing with this lens is that it has an M mount. The M mount is highly adaptable to most mirrorless cameras on the market today. But another benefit with the M mount is that the M mount adapters are really small. So when you're putting it on a mirrorless camera, it looks very good. The adapter doesn't make the lens stick out that much as some other mounts might do. Sometimes this lens can produce some red flares, but it doesn't happen that much because the lens kind of have a built-in lens hood. Let's talk about the performance of this lens. Well, first of all, it's a very good performer. There's nothing I would really complain about. The vignetting is under good control. There's a lot of details. And there's no purple fringing that I think is worth mentioning. Of course, it's gonna occur every once in a while, but it's not out of hand. Sometimes when you pick up a lens, you immediately feel like, okay, this is a nice lens to use. This is a pleasure to use, and this lens is one of those. Overall, when I use this lens, it's a very good performer. It has a really nice amount of details and it's sharp all the way out in the frame. Besides being sharp, it's also able to produce a really nice bokeh and background blur in your images. It's a good all-rounder, as 35mm lenses are. I use this a lot for street photography and it works really well in most situations. Because of the markers on the focusing ring, I can use it for hyperfocus and I could run around and shoot very quickly. But when I want it, I could open up the aperture and I could get some really nice background blur, for example, if I want to isolate my subjects. Most of the images that I'm showing you here is made on a full-frame camera, but it works really well for APS-C cameras as well. In that case, it has a field of view equivalent to around 50mm. So it's versatile for both APS-C cameras and full-frame cameras. And if you're having both cameras in your arsenal, you could basically just adapt it between the different cameras. This lens is considered to be cheap, especially when you compare it to many other M-mount lenses. It's going to retail for $298, but I don't feel like it gives you the compromise that many other cheap lenses are. Rather the opposite, it performs really good. If you're looking to value versus performance, this lens have a really high value. There's not really any compromises on this lens. There's nothing that's gonna bothering you or being like a nail in the eye. It's optically it's good. It renders nice colors. It has a nice character, and it's a solid performer for your image making. One thing I ask myself when we're talking about performances of lenses is that I ask myself if I would considering using this lens for a client work where I don't want an extreme look of some kind, and the answer in this case is an absolute yes. Will I recommend people to buy this lens? The answer on that question is an absolute yes. It's a solid performer with an appealing price. Besides being a good performer, it's also a good looking lens, it's fun to shoot with, and if paired up with the right camera, it opens up for questions, and people are like asking you about the lens, they are asking you about the camera and the setup when you're shooting street, and that, my friends, is a good conversation starter. People are not going to look on you like you are some creepy photographer, because the camera and the lens has a certain look to it, and that look appeals to people. Overall, the performance is solid and very good. The construction is nice, the price is good. There's nothing to really complain about when it comes to this lens. It just does the job very good, and it's a fun lens to use. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, consider subscribing by clicking here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.